1960, the first birth control pill came out, which made it easier to have unprotected sex without the chance of having a child. This divorced sex from procreation, a fundamental change in humanity. With this new invention, plus increasing exposure to various drugs and a post-war counterculture full of rock and roll and sex, chaos ensued. A new sexual ethic began to pervade society as more people read Freud and his psychology based around psychosexual development and sexual repression. Also, the reports of Alfred Kinsey in the mid-20th century explored people's sexual proclivities, which supposedly turned out to be much less conservative than had previously been thought. Though I should say these studies have been heavily criticized. His reports showed that women were much more sexual creatures than had previously been the consensus, and that premarital sex, masturbation, affairs, and homosexuality were much more common than the conservative society had once claimed. Soon, second-wave feminists were arguing for women's sexual autonomy and reproductive rights, which made abortion significantly less stigmatized.
The feminists who seek essentially in every way to permit women to live like men as much as possible, who try and erase the differences between men and women across the board. I think that this is just a sort of feminist instantiation of hyperliberalism. So an ideology that prioritizes freedom above absolutely everything else. It doesn't see freedom as something to be balanced with other virtues, but sees it as the sole goal. I think that we are seeing that ideology just brought to its logical conclusions with something like the idea of sexual disenchantment. Because if you want people to be completely and utterly free, then you do have to take aim at the idea of sacredness, at the idea that we should be confined by any kind of traditional ideas, even that we should have obligations to each other.
But the fruits of it had collapsed. The total fertility rate was roughly halved. The analogy wasn't perfect, I supposed, but it sure looked like an inflationary phenomenon. The parallel on the sex side is equally striking. I refer you here to UT Austin sociologist Mark Wigneris's kind of bracing Oxford Press monograph called Cheap Sex. The book is called Cheap Sex, and this is the observation that sexual access has become more widely available at lower costs than at any point in human history. And so the data do confirm an expansion of sexual exchange, lifetime average sexual partners rising, more exchange, more volume, and more access. But the productive output, which is children, certainly collapsed. But there is no free lunch. This is the first lesson in any sound economics course, and it is Hazlitt's lesson restated. Negative interest rates attempt to extract growth from a stagnation produced by the very debts that caused by fiat money. Pronatalist subsidies, I'm forever arguing against them, financed by debt, attempt to extract more births from a demand collapse produced by a technological shock that made children unnecessary.